Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review, we are looking at the SH Figuarts Naruto JIRAIYA figure, which is definitely a character from Naruto who I'm very familiar with, and I was actually really looking forward to this figure. All joking aside, it did look like a really good figure ahead of time, and it mostly is. So there's a few things we need to talk about that are not great things, but mostly it's a really solid release. So let's go ahead and get this guy off the stand and take a closer look. This guy stands just about 17 centimeters, which makes him just about 6 3/4 inches, right around there. So he does have a little bit of extra height to him, and he's a pretty aesthetically pleasing figure. They did a good job with the molded plastic. It's mostly all pretty uniform. There is only a tiny bit of paint on this guy, though. If there's shading, I can't find it. We really only have the paint for this kind of like plate mail armor that he has underneath, and then some straps here and there. Couple of dots, not a whole lot going on in terms of paint, so that's definitely a little bit of a drawback. They did a good job for the headband thingy, which is it's pretty good. The only real problem I have with the head, because the faces are always high quality, there's no shading at all for his hair. It's completely just solid plastic, which is not the biggest deal in the world. It's got a nice I guess you could say dynamic sculpt, so there are a lot of shadows in there, natural shadows, so it looks okay, but a little bit of shading I think would have gone a long way. At least a little bit in there, something would have made it look really nice. Lots of soft plastic in here though, so that's pretty good design. We'll get to the articulation in just a second. First, let's talk about the accessories. We have a total of 4 different faces. We have the neutral face, we have one where he's winking, one where he's got his teeth showing and he's not winking, and then one where he looks like a crazy person. We do have the folded arm accessory, which tops out at the bicep. It's fairly effective, no real problems there. We have a few different hands. We have the 2 fist hands. We have one hand where he's holding some kind of clear water flower thingy. Then we have 2 gripping hands, 2 wide open hands, and then 1 wide open hand where he's drawn on his palm. And then we have a little bit of a notepad type thing, and then a couple of blue lint rollers. So it's a pretty good batch of accessories. I think it's more than most figures get these days. So it's pretty good, especially having the 4 faces. I like that. It gives you lots of opportunity to pose them in different ways, so that's pretty cool. Alright, now as far as the articulation goes, let's go ahead and just show you what's going on underneath the face. We have a peg down here, a peg in here, and then a hinge. So you can use the hinge to look forward and back. That's pretty effective. Use the bottom peg to look side to side, and then use the top peg to lean side to side. Now because it's not just a straight up and down peg, ball hinge, peg, you're not going to be able to really rotate it around too much to get different poses. It's kind of got to stay the way it is, which is not the best thing, but it's not terrible in this case. It works well enough as it is, so that's okay. The neck is on a ball peg, and that's where you're going to end up with most of your posability, because the whole head can just move around, and that's pretty good. The ponytail thingy back here, just maybe a double. I think it's just a single ball peg. It's definitely okay. It's stiff enough to hold the hair up, so that's fine. No big deal. It would have been nice to maybe have another one down here, but not a problem. I think that's all right. For the diaphragm joint, I'm not sure what's actually going on inside. I think it's just a double ball peg, but it works really well. He might have the best torso articulation out of all of the Naruto figures. It's very well executed. It leans back pretty nicely. I mean, granted, he's got a lot of layers and things, so it's not the best range, but it does work. And side to side, really no problem at all. That's better than most figures, and then going forward is just phenomenal. Really well done. The only real downside to this situation is you have a lot of gapping going on at the lower part, because this floating piece is actually connected in there. Can you see those little tiny pegs? I think you can. That's holding this piece in place. I think it would have been better if it wasn't actually pegged in, and if it was just a little bit narrower so that it could kind of just hug the body a little tighter. You wouldn't have that gapping. But you do have really solid range, so that's a good thing. And then this, of course, does not get in the way. For the shoulders, you have a really nice butterfly. It comes all the way out, which of course can get ugly, but that's what butterfly joints do. They don't help that much because of the way this vest thing is. It doesn't allow the arm to go too far across the chest, but it does help. So that's good if you want that. Of course, you do have the ball peg for the arm to connect to the butterfly joint, and then you have the hinge in the shoulder. Not the best range because it's a really awkward hinge. You can see in there the hinge itself is tiny compared to the shoulder, so it has a lot of the same problems as Nappa, and who else had that? Akuma had that problem. But luckily, you can tuck it in enough that you can still work his arm mostly okay. There's your bicep swivel, no problems there. Be careful when you're swapping out the lower part of the arms for the folded arms. If you don't peg it in all the way, it's going to shoot the arm back off. There's kind of like a second notch on there, and if you don't get past that, then the pressure just pops the arm right back off, and you're going to think you have a messed up figure. Just push it a little bit harder. That's what she said, and it'll be just fine. You do have a double jointed elbow. Not the best looking elbow, not the best range, just better than 90, but it does at least have that range, I guess. We have a ball hinge for the wrist. It rotates at the forearm and at the hand, so no problems there. For the legs, I can show you specifically what we have. It's essentially the same as the standard hinged ball peg, so they go up and down just a little bit. It's not the best execution because hopefully you can see that they don't have very much range at all. And this piece in here is just a little floating cap to hide that. I guess it's okay that it's really ugly and doesn't have that much range because it's so ugly that it's hidden by this, so that's a good thing. And it's ugly because it has really good range despite the fact that the drop-down ball pegs don't really work. You can really just pose them however you want. However, if you raise one leg and not the other, you are going to see his ugly junk, and you don't want that. But still really good range, even bringing the legs out to the side. Not the best in the world, but it's pretty good. You can get them out there pretty far. You do have a thigh swivel in there with really good range. Double jointed knees, pretty good. I mean, we've definitely seen better, but it's not bad. It'll do. The joints do feel a little bit softer than I'd like. A little bit more firmness would be good, but it's not a deal breaker because he's not a terribly heavy figure. For the ankles, standard ball hinge, all the way forward, not so far back. And of course, you can rotate it all the way around to give yourself a little bit of an ankle rocker. And then for the toe hinge, it's pretty far back on the foot, but it's still well executed because they made the sandals go with the front part, and it's just nicely done and good detail throughout. So yeah, I made fewer jokes in this review than I do most of the Naruto reviews because the figure is really pretty good, I guess. It's not really, I mean, I don't know anything about it, so I have no reason to like this more than any other ones, but there aren't really too many issues with the figure. It's pretty well executed, so I think a lot of you guys are going to be pretty happy. And, I mean, I've said that about a lot of the Naruto figures, though. They're lately have been pretty well executed. So I guess you guys are, your patience paid off. The first ones were pretty garbage, but these ones are really solid. So there you go, guys. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. I have new videos up every single day. We talk about action figures, movies, TV shows, video games, all kinds of fun stuff. So make sure you come back for that. Give the video a thumbs up if you liked it. And in the meantime, keep collecting.